Right then, afternoon peeps, this is Tony again from Tony's Iron Tonic. Today we're down by the canal again. We've moved a bit further down towards, well, if you were to walk down here you would be going towards Derby, but stopped a little place which is right by the A38. You may hear the cars going past. The A38 is open, so hopefully we can see if anybody's been chucking stuff over the barriers into this part of the canal. Let's get into it. Right, here we go. Magnets away.
Magnets away indeed. Hope everybody is doing well. So this was a Saturday afternoon down on, as you see, on the A38, and the first cast we've got here is what eventually I thought was actually just a piece of rubbish, but it was an expensive, or what looked expensive, Tommy Hilfiger sunglasses case. And inside, what do we find? Somebody's drug paraphernalia. We all know what that is really, but you know, got to keep this child friendly. Beautiful day, as I said, and plenty of canal boats backwards and forwards. So another cast, and this seemed a very heavy item, but dragging through the sludge of the bottom of the canal, and all we've actually pulled out is a large crusty bolt. So we're on to our third cast now, and it wasn't really, you know, I was expecting lots of rubbish that the cars had thrown out, but yeah, maybe this is one of them. Driving along the A38, chucked a lighter in the canal. So where I was just expecting a lot more. This, I would have said, has been chucked off the side of one of the canal boats. It's what looks like one of those small brooms that come with a fold-away pan. Obviously without its bristles, but it wasn't. It was horrible, sludgy, slimy. Not a nice thing to keep. So on to the next cast, and this next item, the last couple of weeks I've been finding a lot of them. It's one of them happy gas bottles. So obviously there's a lot of people down the canal having a fun time. Now this was heavy, and I mean heavy. Lots of bubbles. You probably can't see them, but I am pointing to them now. There is lots of bubbles. Lots of bubbles. Eventually my magnet comes off the item, slips off the item, but it was that heavy it was holding my weight as I leant backwards. But as my magnet fell off, again we've dragged across the floor just another crusty old, what I can only presume are bolts in the water. So eventually, after a lot of wiggling, a lot of tugging, this is what we found. It's eventually moved from one side of the canal to another, and it must have been there a while. And as you can all see now, we're pulling a magnet that is attached to a very large mountain bike, heavy just because of the amount of water in the pipes, and yeah, it stank as well. It was nasty, was very, very smelly. But another bike, obviously I found one on my last trip down by the Horninglow Basin. This one is possibly been in there a lot longer, because it was very, very smelly. But I would, has somebody chucked that over the side of the A38, or has somebody been strong enough to sling it all the way to the other side of the canal? Because it wasn't on the near side, that was on the other side that runs along the A38. So I thought I'd have another go at casting in the same sort of area, seeing what is in and around now that I have, you know, pulled out a large item, and it makes me believe now, pulling this item out, that there is actually a lot more bikes over there, as this part that I'm pulling out now is part of another bike. It's a small part of the frame with the cog, chain and pedal. But I tried a few more casts in the same area, did not pull the rest of the bike out, but you can see how long that has been out there. That is, it's been there a while, So this next part I generally thought was just a piece of paper that was attached to my magnet with the force of, you can see the nails and the little bits of rubbish underneath, but no, it was a crescent moon shaped piece of metal. Whether that was the part of a tin or something like that, I have no idea. So this next part, this is a large bolt, which I genuinely believed was a bone, because of a large beige creamy coloured stone that was on it, little piece of metal as well. But I genuinely thought this was a bone at first, and then, you know, after taking the reeds and the lilies off, it was that old, long piece of rod or pipe. It's that old and crusty, the stone had stuck itself to it. This next item, again, it felt really heavy, but at the end of the day, it wasn't. It was just a large piece of rusty metal. So again, casting, and as you can see, if you look closely, there is lots and lots of bubbles for this one, lots and bubbles. So then here's me thinking again, I've got something like another mountain bike, or hopefully a safe. But as you can see, when I pull it out of the water, it is neither. This here was a very large, very heavy piece of pipe work, maybe scaffolding pipe, but it took a while to get it out of the water, with lots of, you know, wiggling to make sure it dislodges itself from the mud on the bottom of the canal. That's why there's all those bubbles. So yeah, as you can see, while it's lying on the floor, it's very big. It was heavy. It did stink a bit because of the water inside of it, but it was, I would say, around about 4.5 foot tall. Very large piece that was. So besides the bike and the large pole, I wasn't having much luck down on the canal down by the A38, which was a bit disappointing, as like I say, I was expecting a lot more. So this was the last cast down on the A38, and it was just like a small bolt. So then I've packed up my stuff, decided to go home, but then I thought, no, let's stop near my home at the Horn and Glow Basin, and first cast, end up getting stuck on the side of the railings, the metal railings, as I'm pulling out. Yank it off, there you go, big strong boy. But we end up with a large fishing lure, I think that's what they're called, a fishing lure, and then a bottle, I don't know what cap that is, it's a metal screw cap. And again, this one, pull out another screw cap. So if anybody knows what these screw caps are, just let me know, because over the last couple of weeks I am finding lots of them in this basin area. So then, as you can see, I've got a canal boat to the right of me who is reversing so he can move. So as I'm trying to pull my magnet out of the water so he can do that maneuver, it gets stuck on something big. You know, there's bubbles there. There's this next item, I believe, is what was the start of the star attraction to this video. You know, I'm the bloke that is moving his canal boat has said to me, you know, be careful, I don't want you getting hurt with the motor going. But he was all good, I soon got it out, and there we have it. Another rod, another pole, obviously used for barriers with maybe police tape and or you know, some kind of tape. So here, this is the heaviest thing I have ever so far to date pulled out of the canal. How you know, I've been at the Horn and Globe Basin 3 or 4 times now, and how I have missed this, I don't know at all. Can you see all those bubbles coming to the surface now? Yep, magnet slips off, but I know I have got something big. As you can see, a small pool of oil has started to come to the surface. This is when I knew I had something very large. Maybe at first I thought it might be, you know, the motor off a canal boat, off one of the small boats that we see going up and down the canal. You know, as the oil comes to the surface, all of them bubbles, all you can smell when the bubbles are bursting is the oil. I'm not a fan of oil. I don't drive, and I don't like the smell of petrol or oil. It's not my thing. But yeah, we're yanking. Oh, we're stuck on the side again. But no, back in. It's taken me about, I would say, 4, 5, 6 attempts just to try and get this to surface. And I don't know if you can see now, as we're yanking it up. I've had to get a second magnet on there, which didn't work. So I throw my grappling hook into the water to see if I can dislodge this any further out of the water. And my grappling hook gets on top of it, pulling it. This is so much hot. This is my workout for the day. But can you see that? Can you see that? Yeah, that is a wheel. I knew now that I had got a moped, maybe even a small motorbike. So I had trouble keeping hold of this. You know, I'm not the fittest of people, but you know, I've got my grapple hook on it. I've chucked in my big magnet again. And I'm determined to get it out. If it had taken me 3 or 4 hours, I was getting this thing out. Here's me thinking that I could do with some more leverage on it. So eventually I try and use the wooden stump, the signage stump, the other side of the footpath. But it didn't really work. You know, I thought it would, you know, bit of leverage, but no, it didn't. It wasn't happening at all. But in the process of me trying to get this leverage, I nearly trip over a pedestrian or a runner who then has to hurdle over my rope. Whee! Yeah. So no, this leverage business didn't work in the slightest. Didn't work at all. Stupid idea, but you know. But no, I decided that I've got to get this thing out of the water. Cannot leave it in there now. And like I say, if I was going to be there for a few hours pulling this thing up on my own, then, you know, so be it. But luckily, that is something I didn't have to do. 2 young lads just minding their own business, see what I'm doing, and decide they're going to come and give me a hand. And you know, we had tried it, and then all of a sudden my grappling hook and my magnet come off. So we throw them back in, and I pull out, metal roof tile. It's not what I was expecting, but no, in goes the magnet again. The grapple hook is already in there, and I'm pulling, I'm yanking. You know, the two lads thought we were over, and they did walk away, but then they saw that I'd got it, and then come back to give me a hand, which I totally appreciated, because this thing was very, very heavy. And we're screaming at each other, you know, 1, 2, 3. I've got hold of the handlebars now. One of the lads has got the grappling hook. You know, it was good of them. They could have just stood there, laughed at me, watched me struggle. But we're going, you know, we're counting to 3. We're working as a team, and muchly appreciated. Fist pumps all around. 2 lads just enjoying the weather. It's muchly appreciated, boys. If you watch this video on, just to let you know, big thanks. But yeah, trying to get this from the side of the canal to the other end took me ages as well, because it was very heavy. But while moving it, did find myself a little friend, little critter, little crayfish, chucked him back in the water, and there it is. I did call the police to see if they wanted to, if anybody had reported a stolen moped, but they were not interested. An old crusty Peugeot moped. What else can we find in our next trip? If you're liking what you're seeing, people, like, comment, you know, subscribe, share it with your friends and family, and we'll see you next time. Peace out.